believe I'm live. I'm going to make sure that the stream starts on my iPad before I go ahead and get started with everything, because usually YouTube has like a 15 to 30 second delay. And I'll also put in chat, please say hello if you can hear. Okay. We'll see. So far I have nothing on the iPad, so I don't know if this is actually working or not. Oh, okay. So Jay says he can hear me. Oh, now, of course, after everyone else sees me, I can see myself on the iPad. All right. So you can see what's on the screen now. Little summary for today. Last week we got the migration pretty much working, but we are starting to build up a backlog of issues here. We have that during the migration, there's a filter null issue with a couple of the filters that are migrated. There's an issue where it says field discovery failed. I don't know exactly what that is. And then there's two field formatter migrations that break. One is for color box and one's for text formatter list. And some of those things are more important than others. It seems like the majority of my content is actually migrating. So that's a good thing. And we have enough content now to start doing some theming, at least a little bit. For instance, here's a blog post I have up, and you can see it's kind of in a raw state right now. There's no CSS really applied. It's just Drupal core CSS, which is almost nothing. I think it is nothing. So I have the title and the links for managing the blog post, the tabs up here, and then there's things like tags down here that are just a list right now. And luckily it shouldn't, I hope it won't be too difficult to get my old Drupal 7 theme. So if I go to my website, you can see what it looks like there now.com, jeffgeerling.com. So this is what it looks like now with the title, tabs, the date, the post, and tags are in a line here. In a comment section, I'm hoping that it won't be super difficult to get all that CSS upgraded to work with this site. Most of it's going to be a matter of getting the markup in the new site to match the old site, because I have a pretty simple theme. Hi everybody, hi Oliver, Nick, and hi Cam or hi Cham. I'm not very good at pronouncing names in general, even if you are an American like Joe or John or something, sometimes I get those wrong. Heck, I get my two daughters' names mixed up on a daily basis. So that's going to be what we're going to get to today. But before that, I wanted to mention that any past episode is available. If you are just catching into this live stream, you can go back and see the progression. And I am intentionally not working on this project outside of these live streams so that you can see the entire process from when I had no code base at all to building a code base, getting it working locally, setting up CI with GitHub Actions, generating the migrations with the migrate upgrade command, running the migrations. Every single part of it is in this live stream. So hopefully, if you want to do the same kind of thing for your own Drupal 7 site, you'll be able to go back and look at this for reference, or for what not to do at some points. Another thing is I'm we'll see with coronavirus and COVID-19 if DrupalCon North America happens this year or not. At this point, it's looking like all signs point to no. But even if it doesn't happen, I will be at least posting a blog post, maybe mentioning it in a live stream or doing a video about the Drupal Local Development Survey. You can see right now I'm just using a custom, I have a custom Docker Compose file that's set up to run my site locally. But for a lot of sites, you might use something else like Drud or DDev or Lando or Drupal VM or one of 100 other options for running local Drupal sites. So the survey is going to ask about that and what kind of code editor you use and what your team size is, if it's 1 or if it's 50 people, that kind of thing. Just so that we can have that data and track it over time in the Drupal community to make sure that we know what other people are using and we know what we might want to focus some resources on, that kind of thing. So I'll be tweeting out a link to that, and I'll be posting it on my blog, on the Drupal subreddit, etc. Also, a couple weeks ago, I noticed, and I forgot to mention this last week, Tina Mrak, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She did a live stream on creating a custom theme in Drupal 8. So I just wanted to mention that, give her a shout out, because that was it's very topical, since today I'm going to be working on the theming for this site, upgrading the theme. This is a little different because this is creating a new theme, and I think she used a like a grid system and some things like that I may or may not ever use on jeffgeerling.com. But I wanted to mention that. I'll have that link in the notes for this episode. And today the focus will probably be just this, but we'll see if we get into anything else. First of all, someone mentioned on the live stream last week or 2 weeks ago, why aren't you using an admin theme for Drupal? And the simple answer to that, so like if I go anywhere on the site right now, the admin theme is completely unthemed, which makes Drupal almost impossible to use because it's just a list of links here. For instance, if I go to configuration, it's kind of hard to even know where you're going unless you really know Drupal, because when you have, I think these are definition lists. Definition lists are a very difficult way to kind of browse content if you're used to having a really nice formatted setting. But if you know Drupal a lot, this is not so bad. And in my brain, I know like, oh, development's over here, performance is here. Click on that to get to the clear caches, and site settings has the title, that kind of stuff. But if you don't know where all that is, it can be a little daunting to have this giant config interface. So the first thing we'll do is we'll actually set an admin theme. If you install Drupal using the standard profile, or I think if you use, what other profiles are there? There's like the demo profile with Umami. All those use an admin theme, and I think there's a couple admin themes now. There used to just be one in Drupal 7, which was called 7. But when Drupal 8 came out, it was still 7, and so I know that there was an effort to get a new theme, and I think it's the Claro theme, which is right here. And Claro is kind of an attempt to make a more modern interface. It's somewhat more of a flat UI. And so we'll see that one, how it looks versus 7. So I'm going to set 7 up, and I'm just going to choose it as the theme. You have to install the theme first, which I'll do here. And the reason why I don't have a theme right now for admin is because when I install the site, I used the minimal install profile. So when I do docker compose exec, I do the drush site install, I choose the minimal profile. If I chose standard, it would choose 7, I think, as the default admin theme. Whoops. So let's see. So I installed 7, and now I can choose it as the admin theme. And you can also choose, so for most sites, this is appropriate to use the admin theme when you're creating content, that kind of thing. But for some sites, like I run a service for Apache Solar hosting, and users on this site, I'll have to log in, users on the site, when they go to their subscriptions, which this user doesn't have any, so I'll go to Jeff, what is it, users slash, I don't even know my user account. Let me log in as jeffgeerling. And I think, yeah, this is the site that has my jeffgeerling.com. So I can actually edit nodes, and I don't want to have the 7 UI because it completely changes the site experience. So I have my main theme, which is the hosted Apache Solar theme, also used for the admin side for node editing. You can actually even set this up so that the admin theme would be used for some users and the regular theme would be used for other users. I've seen people do that as well, but that's the reason why there's a checkbox for this. Typically, I leave that checked unless there's a special case, like you're building a software as a service solution and you want people to have that consistent site theme throughout their experience. So we'll try 7 and see how it looks. I don't know if I'll have to do something with blocks to get them to show up correctly, but we'll see. Because I know that with the standard profile, I think in the admin theme, it puts certain blocks in certain places so that you can see like the tabs in the right spot. And yeah, so see this, what happens if you use the minimal profile is it drops things in the regions, in the default regions. So you have like tools up here, and the administration menu is up here, and it's kind of, everything is wrong. I'm reminded of the Wall-E scene where that the little bot is going around and he sees some dirt on the floor and he's like, wrong. So that's what happens when you don't use the standard profile and you enable one of these admin themes. But it does look better already because it looks like it's an actual theme. And to fix that issue with all these things being in the wrong place, you can go to structure, and if it ever loads, my poor computer when I start the live stream just dies. Block layout. And in 7, I think, let's see, I think we don't want the tools to show up at all. Can I just remove it? Okay, remove. Remove. Let me make sure I'm actually in the 7 theme. Oh, I'm in Stark right now. I want to be in 7. Oops. Luckily, I don't use the tools menu ever anyways. All right, so we don't want site branding to be in 7 at all because we already know we're on jeffgeerling.com. Remove that. I hope that didn't just delete the site branding block. Let's see what just happened. If I go back here, there should still be the title and stuff. These are little Drupal usability things. Like the way that was worded made me think I just deleted the site branding block, but I just removed it from the 7 theme. It's still there. So that was a little bit worrying. Okay, so we want to get rid of tools here. Don't want that in here. And again, this is all done for you if you use the standard theme. I don't need the login block. It'd also be nice, I thought that you used to be able to remove these blocks just by setting them to none. Maybe that was in Drupal 7 and below. Oops, I don't want to configure. I want to remove, and now I'm stuck. Let me go back here. Okay, remove. So now we're getting back to the point where this theme is actually showing us content. So now that's empty, but it should have, I believe it should have the title. If I place a block and say page title, place block. Page title, header, save. And let's see if that's correct. Yeah, so now I have block layout. Actually, it looks like page title's thrown into content here. So I could have just moved that up. But anyway, that's what we can do. But I really want to use the Claro theme. But if you ever enable an admin theme and things are kind of out of place, that's because these blocks are all thrown in the wrong spaces. Like the tabs, I think also should be up here. Let me actually try that really quick. I think it's in the header that the tabs should be. We'll see if that's true. Because we might have to do this again for the Claro theme. No, that is not right. Maybe then the pre-content. Anyway, one other way to do this is to install a fresh site. Yeah, that might be right. This still looks a little funny. There's a little line under custom block library. Anyways, we'll go back and I'm going to enable Claro and switch to it for admin. We'll see how that looks. Claro install. Oh wow. You must install all these extra themes. Okay, sure. The only reason I was hesitant there is I'm reading up on Drupal 8 issues surrounding themes, because every time I create a new theme in Drupal, it seems like the best practice has kind of changed a little bit. I remember way back in Drupal 5 or 6 days, I would use the Zen theme as my base theme because it was kind of like a kit with all the things that you needed to start theming, and it kind of made Drupal core's markup a little more sane. In Drupal 7, a lot of the things that made Zen nice were moved into Drupal core. So the theme templates and all those kind of things were cleaned up and made a little nicer. And then in Drupal 8, there was Classy and Stable, 2 new themes that were supposed to be like a stable base theme with all the markup that you could use. and then classy would add a lot of extra classes to it. But I was reading about this later in the Drupal 8 lifecycle. People wanted to change things a lot, and so now there's a movement to create a starter kit theme that's not classy, but it's similar to classy. And the starter kit would be like you duplicate the theme and then you'd build off of there, kind of like Zen would do, except it's a little different model. But the idea is you'd have a theme that you kind of clone and then start building that instead of depending on a classy theme. But I know the classy theme will be moved into contrib sometime, maybe in Drupal 9, I guess, I don't know. But there's a lot of issues here that you can read about with all that. So that was the only hesitancy I had in enabling all these themes, because now I have like a bunch of other base themes set up that I maybe didn't need to depend on. I also want to disable 7. How do I uninstall a theme? Is there a way to, so I can uninstall that? Oh, this is set as administration theme. So let me switch to Claro. I'll save that. Good morning, Carrie. Oliver's talking about something working well and being much quicker at running tests. Maybe, are you talking about like Drupal VM or just running natively? I mean, the fastest is always going to be running natively, but it's also a little bit difficult sometimes to do that. Because if you have multiple Drupal sites and you need different PHP versions, that kind of thing, it can get a little bit complicated. But anyway, if you want to put in the comments, Oliver, what you were talking about there, which can run tests quicker. This is interesting, this new theme. So it looks like it puts all of its blocks in the right places. So I can tell that the title's up here, the breadcrumbs are up here, the tabs are in the right spot. So I wonder why that doesn't happen with the 7 theme. And everything is looking really nice now. One funny thing is I don't know if you can see this on the live stream. Video resolution might not be good enough, but there's this weird, it looks like an artifact, like it's supposed to fade into the background or something here. But there's like little strange squares. Let's see. I don't know if the zooming actually works on the live stream. I'm zooming in and out. It doesn't look like it actually. It might work. If I zoom in here, you can kind of see this strange stair stepping. That's an interesting thing. It might be a bug in the Claro theme. I'm not sure. But let me uninstall the 7 theme now because I'm not using it. And since I set up this theme, I'm going to go ahead and export my configuration so that when I reinstall the site, it automatically has this theme chosen. And to do that, I'm going to go down in my README file. This is a reason why I have this README file is I can just copy and paste these messages and or these commands and put them in the terminal without having to remember what I had to type. So I'm going to export the config, and that should add the administration theme and also enable this Claro theme. It looks like all that's good. And one other thing that I'm going to do before I close out this this task of setting up admin theme, this is interesting. So I did a re-import of everything before this session, and it looks like there's some new stuff in here too. It looks like Bartik is finally out of here, so that's good. Except now there's this new block systems 7 system main. That should not be in there. I don't know why it's in there because I just uninstalled that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is delete 7 system main. I can close this out. So after this, we'll get to theming. How hard can it be, I say? Oh, it can be hard sometimes. Config sync block 7 system main. I don't know why that's in there. It shouldn't be. Okay, so git status. So we have all these new Claro blocks. Let me check. I want to make sure that I'm only installing the Claro theme and nothing else. Git diff that file. Okay, so stable and classy were also enabled because Claro is being used. So git add -a commit-m. And I think I have an issue for this, so I might as well refer to it. Use Claro Theme for admin backend. Fixes number 15. Use Claro Theme for admin backend. Git push. All right, and so now that I'm pushing this code too, since last week we got GitHub Actions working, a cool thing is that, if this ever comes up, okay, so a cool thing is this commit should start running a build on GitHub Actions. Yeah, so you can see this little yellowy, orangey kind of, they pick a really weird color for that. This means that GitHub Actions picked up a run and now it's starting to install the site and make sure that it's working. So typically, especially if you're on a team setting, you wouldn't just push straight to the master branch because that would interfere with everyone else's work, especially if you broke the build, which is always a bad thing. But if you push it to a PR, or in this case, I push to master, it'll run this, and then you can see immediately if this broke the installation of the site, which is nice because you saw what I did earlier was I deleted that, what was that? I deleted the, whatever that new block was for something. What was it? The block 7. So I deleted this by hand, and anytime you manage configuration by hand, you can accidentally cause the site to not be installable anymore. I've experienced that a lot. So typically it's best to use pull requests or feature branches and or merge requests in GitLab when you're doing this kind of work and make sure that the CI works. So anyway, I'll let that all do whatever it does, and then we'll make sure that it ran later. But we have the Claro theme working, and the last thing I want to do before I get into theming is add the admin toolbar module. And also I'll check the comments really quick because I see Oliver replied, the Symfony local web server. Yeah, I mean, it will be faster. It will be faster for that. It is interesting. I haven't tried it since they added the kind of like extra features for Docker integration. Like you mentioned, it uses Docker for databases. This is Oliver's comment. And it is something that I would probably be interested in checking out, and maybe we can do that in a later episode. I've been thinking about one of these episodes kind of comparing different local dev environment tools. So, you know, grabbing Lando and DDev and maybe the Symfony web server and even the PHP built-in web server, see how it compares. Because a lot of them have some trade-offs. There's always convenience versus performance versus the flexibility. And it really depends on your team and your goals. Like my goal with this site is to make it super simple and easy for me to spin up quickly, since I do these once a week and I'm not doing it every day. But if you have a big team and two of the people are using Windows, one person's on Linux, 3 people are on Macs, like that's a whole different ballgame, and you need to think about the easiest way to make a cross-platform solution for that. And if you have people that use themes and use Node.js, or people that need to use Solr for search, that kind of thing, all those things create different problems that you have to solve. And Mohammed had a question, despite the number of new CMS frameworks, why is Drupal attracting more and more people? I think that's an interesting question, and something that's, I do like to talk about that sometimes, because why would I use Drupal for my personal website, especially since Drupal is for ambitious digital experiences. I can't speak. And the reason is Drupal still has a good, like at its core, Drupal has a really good content model with fields and content types and taxonomies and the field formatters and views. Like that model of content management in Drupal is the reason it's, I think, so popular. And the fact that everything can be configured in the UI or via Drush or via programming, that is a good thing that I like about Drupal. And a lot of Drupal's complexity has made it a little bit more difficult to work with sometimes, especially if you do everything from a programmatic angle. But really, that's where Drupal shines, and I think that's why I sometimes stick to it over some other solution, especially something like WordPress, where it's a lot more disjointed and doesn't have that history of a really good content structure. One of the things that I really don't like when I dive into WordPress is you end up with code where there's like HTML and code and things all mixed together in one file, or the structure of a module or a plugin in WordPress is not really as well defined, especially since Drupal's kind of adopting more Symfony type of principles. But it's a double-edged sword. It makes things more complex, but when you build a little bit more complexity into your site, which most people do nowadays, it's easier to do that, I think, with Drupal. But with complexity comes frustration, and I think that's where a lot of people have hit walls in Drupal, and some people have left the community, and that happens, and it's definitely a contraction that happens. Anyway, we can talk more about that other times too. I'm sure, if someone wants to keep prodding me with that question, there's plenty more to talk about. And Carrie's talking about that weird artifact, and yeah, it could be something stretched over. So that's something that if I weren't doing a live stream, I would take a little time to screenshot it, put up an issue on Drupal.org, and ask about it. For the live stream, I'm not going to spend the time to do that right now, but I might later, just because that is weird. In fact, I'm going to take a screenshot of it, just because that is a weird thing, and we'll add an issue about that later. Make sure it's in there. Yeah. Let's see. And then Oliver said something about a blog post that you did. So Oliver, if you want to tweet that to me or something, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes about that dev environment as well. All right, so we have this working. I want to add the admin toolbar module. So Drupal admin toolbar. I think it's admin_toolbar, but I always have to go and check, and it looks like it is. So I'm going to say composer require Drupal admin toolbar. And what's the version? I think it's under here. I forget where the composer command is. I think it's under releases. I have to go to here. And then require admin toolbar at 2.0 or greater. So I'll do that. I'll let composer do its thing. Yeah, and also, Mohammed, to your question about why there's a lot of people in the Drupal realm, there's two things going for it. One is it does have a good content model. Drupal 8, I think, has been a transitional life cycle that has been a difficult upgrade for a lot of people, including me. But it also has a lot of momentum that a lot of these newer frameworks don't have. Especially, I think more and more people are realizing that a lot of these other frameworks that come and go, like I can't even remember the names of them, but I've tried 2 or 3 different Node.js based systems, and they were going to be the next big thing, and then they just kind of died. And that's happened a lot, and I think more and more people are getting burned by that, especially in the JavaScript community, but even in PHP, because you don't realize that for a system like Drupal to become what it has become requires hundreds, if not thousands, of active developers working on it. It requires tens, if not hundreds, of businesses that support it, and then it can actually be a stable system that can grow over time. A lot of these other systems, it might be one individual, like someone like me, who has an itch to scratch. They scratch the itch, they build their system for their thing, and then they realize, man, this is actually really hard to do, a lot of maintenance for this, so they kind of stop. And so that's one other reason why Drupal is popular, just because it has that momentum and the huge backing behind it. It has a DrupalCon, and it has a big community. It has local meetups. It has dozens of books written about it, all that kind of stuff. It kind of just has its own mass that carries its own momentum. Thanks, Oliver. He tweeted me that link. So this is annoying. What is it saying? It was installing it, and then, oh, it could not delete this file. That's permissions issue again. Open websites default. Let me make sure. Where's I opened it, but it's not showing up anywhere. There it is. Finder's just being slow because of the stream. All right, I have to make this folder read and write. Let me make sure this file is also read and write. I could also use chown or chmod to change the file settings, but sometimes it's easier for Mac OS at least to just do it in the Finder, because sometimes there's weird flags on folders that you can screw up if you use chmod. or chmod, or I don't know how people pronounce that. I should probably quit mail in case there's a message in there that has like my social security number or something crazy like that. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but you know, better safe than sorry. I've seen companies do some pretty dumb things in terms of privacy. All right, Composer, we already did this once, so you'd think that things would be cached to not have to spend half an hour doing it again. Akram says use chmod-r777. The problem with doing that is then everything in your entire code base is readable, writable, and executable by any user, including the web user. So in some crazy emergency situations, that could be okay, but typically you want to avoid doing that just so that not everybody in the world can read and write any file on your system. But typically what the best thing to do if you have the time is to see what the file permissions should be, and that's usually like 755 or 644, that kind of thing, to allow the right group's ownership and read-write capability. So it looks like that worked this time. And I think I can just do drush, where's that command? Drush, what is it, pm enable admin toolbar. Is it PM enable? I don't remember. It might be PM dash enable or PM colon enable or something like that. Well, let's do that. It's ambiguous. Oh, it is PM colon enable admin toolbar. All right. It's going to actually do it. So for someone who hasn't ever used Admin Toolbar, the nice thing about it is that it installs after like 10 minutes. That's not the nice thing about it though. Oh goodness. All right, here we go. So the nice thing about it is if I'm anywhere on the site, this should just load. I might have to refresh or clear caches, but I don't think I'll have to. Normally, if you don't have it enabled, if you want to go to a configuration page, you go to configuration, click on it, and then you get to the thing, you click on another link. Admin Toolbar just puts all the link structure into this toolbar with drop-down menus. So at least on the desktop, it makes it a lot quicker to browse. And I think on mobile, you can still tap and expand. So see, now I have these drop-down menus, which is so much nicer and so quick to get around. So if I wanted to get to well, these don't have submenus. If I wanted to get to any of the configuration pages, I can just drop into the right page without having to click on configuration and click again. So anyway, it's also interesting, the content types. I guess I don't have the field UI module. And it looks like I don't have views. Maybe I don't have the views UI module enabled either. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and say export the configuration again, because I want to have that module enabled when I install the site. So do I have views? So views is enabled, but views UI is not. So I'll have to do that once we start theming landing pages like the blog page, and I think the front page might have a couple view blocks on it, so we'll have to figure those out in a little bit. For now though, I'll go back to the home page and show you all of its beautiful barrenness, and we'll start creating that new theme. Oh boy, here comes all the new config. It's a lot slower when I'm doing a live stream. Okay, git status. Hopefully it should just be new core extension, new composer, and then that block keeps coming in. I have to delete that again. It'll go away after I reinstall the site, but for now I just have to keep deleting it. Delete. All right, git add. I'll do a git status to see what's there. Commit -m. Did I create an issue for this? GitHub. Let's see if I created an actual issue. I didn't. I really should, but in this case, I'm not going to. We'll just get through this. Add Admin Toolbar module and enable it on site. All right, push that up. And let's just check in on that commit from earlier to make sure it did pass tests. So commits. If you go to the commits view, it shows a little green check mark if it worked. So that's good. And it hopefully will do the same thing for Admin Toolbar here. All right, so let's work on the theming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Drupal 7 site codebase and grab that theme and pull it into Drupal 8, and we'll see where to go from there. This is, depending on your theme, it might be easier just to restart from scratch. It depends on if you use a very structured theme where the theme has all of its, like it's more CSS driven and JavaScript, it might be easier to migrate it like I have it. But if you use a lot of theme functions, if you have a ton of custom templates, there's a good chance you're going to need to rebuild the theme from scratch using a new, like if you're using Bootstrap, make a new Bootstrap theme in Drupal 8 and then move all your stuff over to it and from Drupal 7 one by one. The unfortunate thing is that in Drupal 8, I mean, it's fortunate, but it's also unfortunate. They changed the theme system entirely, and it uses Twig files for templates and the templating system. And a lot of the theming system has changed. A lot of the markup structures changed enough that it's it's almost impossible unless you have a theme like mine to just drag it over and then kind of reformat things to fit. But I'm going to go into my Drupal 7 site. Sites, Jeff Geerling. I'll open that up. And here's my theme, Jeff Geerling. So I have some CSS. There's an info file that we'll have to convert to info.yml. Some JS, I think, just for some little open and close animations on my resume page. There's a template.php that changes some things in the page, and then there's there's a node template and a comment template. So this is one of the simplest themes I've ever built. I'm going to copy this theme out and we'll paste it in over here. I think you just put things in the themes folder now in Drupal 8 instead of putting it into sites and then the site name and themes. So go web, there's themes, paste Jeff Geerling. So that, I mean, ideally that would be all I'd need to do to get a theme upgraded to Drupal 8, but that just is not going to be enough. So this info file, oh wow, I didn't even realize I used the base theme of Boron in Drupal 7. So hopefully that won't make things too crazy upgrading to Drupal 8. We'll see. So we're working on this now. And if I go to appearance, this theme probably won't even show up because it doesn't have the right formatted info file. Nick is mentioning, don't forget Admin Toolbar extras. Those are the extra links for like clearing caches and things. You're right. Let me open that page while I'm here. So on this theme page, it doesn't show Jeff Geerling because it doesn't have the right format for a theme. I'll go ahead and run cron. I hate that giant warning message for no reason. I mean, there is a reason for it, but I want to get rid of it, so I'll run cron and let it check for updates. That doesn't look like it worked correctly. Let me go back, refresh this page. Seems like cron did not have a very good time running. All right, so I need to upgrade this theme's info file to an info.yml file. So I'm going to look in the Drupal documentation for that. Drupal 8 theme info file, something like that. Defining a theme with an info.yml file. So I need to create that info.yml file. So I'm going to rename this jeffgeerling.info.yml. And obviously this is not YAML syntax, so I'm going to need to fix that. Create a thing in your theme folder. The YAML file format, I'm very familiar with it because I use Ansible, and I kind of dream in YAML sometimes. See, this is a good argument in favor of tabs not being used. Spaces are better for any Silicon Valley fans out there. Let's see. All right, so we want to do name, Jeff Geerling. Description. I need to do a type theme. I think because themes are now like extensions in Drupal, so that's why you have to add type theme nowadays. Core is going to be 8.x. Hopefully this will also be compatible with 9. We don't need an engine anymore. I think there is some way to get PHP template in Drupal 8, but I don't even want to try it. Base theme. I'm going to go ahead and do classy for now because I already have it enabled for the other thing. We'll see what happens without all the CSS. And then we'll do regions. So this is our mapping of regions. And we want to do header, page top. So let me do this. I'm just going to see if I can do the same. And also, for anyone who doesn't know what I just did, in Sublime Text, you can do this in most editors nowadays. If I hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key, I think on Windows, maybe Alt, yeah. I can click and drag, and that selects a whole grouping of stuff. So you can either click and drag a cursor at the beginning of a line, like this, or you can select a group of things. And then if on the Mac, I can use Shift Option, or on the PC, I think it's Shift Alt or Shift Control or something, and then hold those down and press the right arrow key, and that selects the first word. Do it again, that selects the next word or space. So I can do that to select things. I do that a heck of a lot in YAML files when you're working with structured dicts. So that it's funny. It has for these other ones it doesn't have quotes, but it has a quote here. With YAML syntax, it's fine to have multiple words. Let me actually switch this to YAML so that I can show you with highlighting. So it doesn't really matter if you have quotes or not. I mean, technically speaking, it's nice to have a quote in case you add something like a variable in here. But because if you don't have quotes and you throw in a variable, that can cause issues with some parsers. It also is nice if you wanted to call this, like, I don't know why you'd want to do this, but if you'd want to call it sidebar : second, some parsers can also have trouble with that. But in general, you don't need to quote strings if you don't have any kind of special characters at all. Let's see, you can find more examples. So I also want to add these style sheets. So what I'm going to try to find, does it have, that's funny, 5.5.9. 5.x has not been in support for like a year or two now. But I guess Drupal 7 might still support it. So libraries. Okay. It's not hidden. Engine is Twig. Oh, you could still define engine, but I think there's only one in Drupal 8 itself. Logo, screenshot, I don't need those right now. At some point I might add them or not. It's not that important. After you create a theme and add it one time, you'd really never look at it again. Features, style sheets remove. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do now, I saw there was another page for CSS and JavaScript. Adding, this is for themes. So defining a library. So I guess it's called a library. This isn't a library, is it? I mean, it's just a CSS file. I just want to add a CSS file to, so it looks like this is what I want to do. Wait, this is the libraries.yaml. Oh, so I have to define a library, and then I have to reference the library in the info.yml. So that's a little different from Drupal 7, and it's a little annoying in my opinion. I understand why. So a lot of times in Drupal, there's a good reason why it's done that way, and I think the reason is because libraries can be cached and rendered differently and attached to blocks and all that kind of stuff. But if you're a themer, and I'm not really a themer anymore, that's how I got started, but I'm not anymore, but I have a themer's mindset. Like if I'm a themer, I just want to be like, I have a global style sheet. I want to throw it on the website. So now in Drupal 7, it was, I just did this and I was done. in my .info file. In Drupal 8, it looks like I need to create a libraries file, define a library using YAML, which, for a themer, why am I learning YAML? Like, I don't want to have to learn YAML and worry about spaces and tabs and junk. And then in addition to that, I have to refer to the library in my info.yml file. It's like an arbitrary weird thing. Some other systems are easier or harder to do, but when you're used to this and you throw this whole thing in here, it becomes a little more intimidating, in my opinion. All right, so I need to create a jeffgeerling.libraries.yml file, and I don't know why I just typed it into the file itself. It should be the file name. Save that. Okay. Another interesting note is technically speaking for YAML documents, it's nice to have the YAML document start indicator, which is 3 dashes. With Drupal, you don't have to do that. With some systems, you do. But any YAML file, you can start that way. The interesting thing that you might not know about YAML is if I have YAML here, anything above it, this could be some other document. So I could have text and then YAML, and then if I separate it out, this is another document. You can actually have multiple documents, either YAML or other types of markup in the same actual document. Anyway, fun asides with Jeff Geerling on the live stream. So in this thing, I want to have, I want to add in, I don't have any scripts yet. So I'll remove that. So I do have styles, version 1.x theme, CSS/style. Is that the one? Yep. And then dark mode, because I added dark mode recently. Dark mode.css. I'll save that. Add a new line at the end of the file to make Git happy. And then in here, I need to now add libraries. And then I can comment out that one. So now, not fluffiness, Jeff Geerling, because my theme is definitely not fluffiness. All right, so delete those. I believe that now my info.yml file should be compatible with Drupal 8, so it shows up in my appearance page. It should, there's other CSS files, so we'll have to figure out how to add those in later. Like blog.css actually has a lot of styling for the blog itself. And templates might, I don't think they add any. They just add a little bit of, they reorder some of the content. All right, so we'll have to figure those out later. And we'll have to figure out what to do with template.php, because I think a lot of this changes. But we'll see what happens. This could be interesting. Let me go back to the appearance page and refresh it, and I should see the Jeff Geerling theme, I believe. Oh, there it is. This is the theme for the website of Jeff Geerling. Okay, so I'll install this and set default. It's just using the generic screenshot from the Stark theme, which is what it looks like right now, but it should. I'm hoping that this will at least have some of the base styles, like body styles and font styles, so that we can start seeing what Jeff Geerling looks like with the migrated content. And while I'm here, I'll look at admin toolbars. I need some water, I guess. Admin toolbar, extra tools, and these are, I don't know exactly what these are, but we'll see what they are. I think it's like there's some links for administering Drupal, like clearing caches, maybe resetting the theme cache or theme the CSS and JS files, that kind of thing. But it says the administration theme is still Claro. That's nice. That's a new thing that I don't remember seeing last time I chose a theme. Basically saying like, you changed your theme, but since you're on the admin page, it's still the Claro theme. And then I'm going to uninstall Stark because I don't need Stark anymore. I'm sorry, Iron Man. He is dead anyways. Let's see. And now everything is really slow because I saved the modules page, and that just makes it slow. Oh, goodness. Come on. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put these links into this issue. Because that way I can, if I want to write up a blog post on converting a Drupal 7 theme to Drupal 8, I could do that here. I copied the jeffgeerling theme from the Drupal 7 site to Drupal 8, and then followed this guide to update the .info file to .info.yml. And it's that, the page title. I should find if there's a extension for your browser or something where if you want to do a markdown link, you can paste the URL and then it grabs the title and drops it in here. Because I always have to switch windows and grab the title just to put that link. So I did that, and then I also converted the CSS files to libraries. Oh, excuse me. I don't have a cough button in here, so you got to hear that. Using the directions here. And that page title is this one. Oops. Comment. All right, so we're working on this. Admin Toolbar extras was added, but I don't see any extra things. I don't know. Should have added something, but it doesn't seem to have done that. All right, well, let's get back here. Stark theme uninstalled. At this point, I'm going to go to my home page and see what happens. Oh, there it is. So it must have taken a couple page loads to show up. So now there's a little D8 menu, and it has index, I guess, goes to the, oh, it goes to the admin index page. Flush caches, run cron, run updates, and look, we're starting to see some stuff, and this is totally wrong, all of it, but it's something for sure. So we have a theme, and a lot of the markup I think is going to be a little wrong, and this is also, everything is wrong here, that's for sure. But at least some things are right in that the CSS is getting applied to the page. And there's dark mode support, so that's nice. If I go, how do I turn off dark mode in a browser? I don't know. I can turn off dark mode system-wide, but I don't really want to do that right now. Anyway, so we have some theming. This is funny too. There's outlines on some of these, but not on other ones. So we added those things in, and I'm going to go ahead and export the configuration because I have the theme at least in there. Status. Oh, I need to export configuration. Config export. So this is going to have the new theme as well as the that admin toolbars extra module. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new branch for it, just because that way the branch will help me track all the theming work I'm doing. And technically speaking, if I wanted to, I could drop the theming work and then go back and do some migration work if I need to clean up the migration or work on some of the new views and things. That way, and this is how I'd do it if I had a team that I was working with. One of us would be working on theming, the other ones would be working on migration or some other backend stuff. And we could kind of pass things back and forth, and then as time goes on, we can sync things into the master branch and integrate it. But even for my personal projects, I like to do this sometimes because if we hit a brick wall with theming and I need to work on an issue, like maybe in Drupal core or something, I can drop that work and go to something else without kind of messing up the whole site. So it probably also dropped that Stark. No, let's see, those are deleted. That's good. Did it add? Yeah, it added 7 system main again, so we're gonna have to delete that again. Block 7 system main, delete. Okay, git status. So I'm gonna say git checkout -b, and what's the issue for this? Issue number 16. 16 jeffgeerling theme. All right, git add -a. Git make sure everything's there. Git commit -m. Issue number 16. add jeffgeerling theme with updated YAML file. Git push. And that's going to say I need to set upstream git push-u origin 16 jeffgeerling theme. All right, so now this branch is going to be up, and on GitHub it will show. It'll still show the commits in this issue since I have this branch up here, and it should still run the tests, I believe. Let me see, because it is nice to still make sure that my theming code isn't causing any problems with the installation, which it technically could if my theme broke the installation of Drupal. Doesn't seem like it's testing. That's annoying, but that's okay. We don't worry about that too much. All right, so we added the CSS. Things are looking different for sure. Not great yet, but let me look at, first of all, if I go to jeffgeerling.com, the current site, and I look up in here, why is this not being themed? This is one of the things that's more of a universal Drupal element, so something's definitely going on here that's causing this to not get the right styles. And it's also not getting the right color even. So this is giving site name a, so site name must not be there must not be an ID of site name in here maybe. Let's see. It's a div now with a class and not an ID. So there's a block jeffgeerling branding. So this needs to change to a class. So that this is the process to go through with the theme if you're trying to upgrade it. Let me go to style, site name. So this is now a class, so dot instead of a thing. Page title looks like it is still the same. Let me search again. I'm going to search in this folder, find in folder, that site or site dash name. So there's a few more things I need to update. Dot there, dot there. Could have done is find and replace, I guess, but whatever. And one more here. Okay. Those are all dot. Okay, let me do that. And then on here, I believe it's not caching any of the CSS. It is. Never mind. Don't believe a word that I say. So let's try flushing this. I might have to also flush the static cache. Yeah, let me just flush all caches. For local development, there's a way to turn off all the caching, and I might do that. I think it's in your settings.php. I know in Drupal 7 it is, but in Drupal 8, that's why I'm wondering. I think that it's the same default settings.local. Drupal 8 disable CSS cache settings.php. Google to the rescue as usual. Disable caching during development. Let's see what it says here. Settings.local. Oh, okay. Okay, so disable caching. So we're going to turn that off. Set these. Bins page. So I'm using Drupal version later than 4 for local development. Oops, oh, overwrite. Yep. So we also want to disable the Twig cache. All right, so we need to do this too. Development.services. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Use development.services.yaml. And then that has this in it. It has that. And then I want to turn off Twig cache, so I'm going to do that. Save. All right, what else? All right, so now I have to cache rebuild. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so now well, it's still not correct 100%, but it's getting close. So I'm going to go ahead and drush CR, and then I'm going to confirm that that is actually working to not have anything cached by changing one of these CSS files just briefly. Style.css. I'll see what this is getting. Site name. All right. And then we'll do color. What is red? F0, F0, F0 or something like that? I don't remember. Or I could just do red. Let's make sure that this is working. And that'll be the last thing that we do during this live stream, and we'll hop to another one. And Nick mentions drush CR. Yeah. But the thing is that since I'm outside the Docker container, I have to run it with this command. So that executes the command inside the container. And if this ever finishes, we can check and make sure that the caching is actually disabled. Oh, come on. Okay, cache rebuild complete. I'll refresh the home page. This should look the same, except for this message will be cleared. Well, maybe. There's also a setting, I believe, in this development.services.yml. Oh, it's here, debug true. The nice thing about this is it should drop all the templates in. So this looks the same. What I'm going to do is see if I save this with red and refresh. This should turn red right away instead of me having to wait and clear all the caches, which is not happening. So something is still being cached somewhere. Well, anyway. Oh, and Nick is saying that was about the admin toolbar extras not showing. Yeah, if something ever doesn't show that you think should show, just clear caches like 10 times. It'll end up showing probably. But twig config debug true should start showing me. That's interesting. So this did change after 2 refreshes, which maybe oh yeah, this is not valid. See, this is, like I said, I'm not a themer anymore. I don't even remember, how do you define a red? Is it just like, no, that's it. You can tell how long it's been because I don't even know how to define colors in CSS. Anyways, so the cool thing is that now another thing that happens when you turn on Twig debug mode is every section on the page that has a template that it goes with it gets a little comment here, and this shows exactly where this block is. So if I want to change the markup structure of this template, and this is something that's nicer in Drupal 8 than Drupal 7. I know now that this is coming from core themes, classy templates, block, system branding block. So I can just copy that Twig template, paste it in my templates directory in my theme right here. Whoops, not there. Right here, and then I can override the styles. That's something that I like about Drupal 8 with the Twig debugging. But I think that's a good stopping point. This is a little ugly with the red there, so let's get that back to normal. Oops. Save that and refresh. Might need 2 refreshes. And then, as usual, if you want to continue watching these, the best way to do that is to make sure that you don't miss one is to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is right here below, over here, right here below me. There's a subscribe button. I don't ever do this, but if you want to, you can also hit that little bell that sends you a notification when I start streaming, which I guess is nice, but I hate notifications, so I can't say I really heartily recommend that. But I think I got like another 2 pennies last week, so more people hit subscribe, the more pennies I get. And I might someday have enough to, like, you know, buy a soda or something. We'll see. But thank you for watching today. Next week, I'll get back into some theming. I might do a little bit of the base theming stuff, just the rough theming, to get the site into a more stable look between now and then. Just because I don't want to spend a ton of time on the live stream just going back and forth between CSS and the page, CSS and the page. And then we'll get into making sure all the migrated content is showing up. We'll work on migrating the views. And some point soon, maybe before the 10th episode or so, we might have a site working that we could start thinking about actually going live with and replacing jeffgeerling.com. But thank you for watching. And I hope you have a good week. And if you end up in quarantine or something, hopefully that doesn't happen. But some countries and some cities have already done that kind of thing. Go ahead and go back and rewatch these episodes. I don't have any other suggestions. I guess you could read a book or something. Right now I'm trying to think of, if we were quarantined, what kind of things would I do? And I'd probably just end up working on some CSS and reading some books. But 14 days is a long time. So hopefully everybody is feeling well, and I will talk to you next week. And now I have to try to figure out where the end stream button is. There it is. And of course, with this, the delay that YouTube has, sometimes I don't even realize, like when I click end stream, is it going to end it at that point or in 15 points in the future? You never know. So I'm going to click the button now and we'll see what happens.